Now, we were talking about the 650-year cycle between the East and the West encroaching upon each other. And the astrologer Charles Jane had attributed this to Toynbee. I read some of Toynbee. There's an awful lot of Toynbee to read, but I haven't come across it yet where the 650 years happens. But it more or less coincides with the year 1325, 1350, where you had, among other things, the Black Plague. Or was it the bubonic plague? If you remember about that time, that's when Marco Polo, in other words, this is recent times, 650 years ago. I mean, we'd have to do two of those cycles to go back to the time of Christ. Or 3 from now, 650, times 3. And to get back to the time of Christ or so. So recent times, this is just the beginning of the Renaissance. We had Marco Polo going to China, but that began, was a symptom of the fact that the West was feeling its stuff. And it went to China, and with Marco Polo, the West began to ascend then, and eventually it enslaved the East and so on. Addicted to China, to opium, and all those things that happen when you're dominant and nobody can stop you. Which the British, I suppose, were the most obvious case, the British Empire. But anyhow, 650 years later, and we're speaking about, or speaking in the year 2020, where something very interesting has happened, and that is that the West is very afraid that the East may be making a comeback. And, as we speak, China has manufactured lots of consumer goods, for one thing. And I'm using a lot of them in my photographic equipment here, webcams and computers. All this stuff is largely made in China now. Let's see, right hand, left hand there. Make sure the hair's nice. And a recent thing, and now, of course, is the COVID virus, the COVID-19 virus, also called Corona. But this is being blamed by our current president, Donald Trump. He's blaming China for somehow perpetrating this virus on us. Now, as far as we can tell, it did start in China. And a lot of flus and, various epidemics do start in China, where they have a close proximity of people and pigs and birds. Those are the three main vectors, and the viruses go around and round on in these three species until they come up with something really good, and then the humans catch it. It's a new form, and the humans then take it around the world, just as Marco Polo probably did on the trade routes. I read a book once called Paths of Contagion, and basically it illustrates the fact that the diseases spread the same way that culture spreads, and that is along the mercantile paths. So, the overland path to China brought rats, And there's a lot of, explaining, well, the rats caused the bubonic plague. Well, how did they come? Well, they came along the trade routes. Well, now this COVID we believe, is being spread not by animals so much as by humans themselves, but it's going to come along the trade routes. And if you recollect, the COVID virus started in China, and there was a big fuss in China in January, but then all of a sudden it hit Italy, down the Marco Polo path, Italy to China and back and forth. That was Marco Polo. And Italy, had it next, and then, it spread, and it's spread the quickest to places where there's a lot of travel, a lot of people want to go to. So, for example, New York City in the United States is very caught the virus real quick, because that's where people want to go to New York for shopping and various things relating to commerce and tourism mostly. But I'm currently located in Alliance, Ohio, where there isn't that much tourism, so we're going to be a little slower to get the full impact of the virus. But eventually it'll go everywhere, I'm guessing. And eventually it's going to take a huge toll. Now, the fact that this is kind of a historic virus, it's not just your average winter flu. It's gonna be a biggie, probably based on this idea of the 650 years between plagues, and the last one being 650 years ago, more or less. So there's a chance we have this. This could be the biggie. Now, then the question is, if you're a stock market specialist or interested in that, well, how will this affect the markets? And let me tell you, I must be cursed with an interest in the markets and absolutely no talent for guessing right. So I won't tell you too much about the markets, other than Robert Prechter and the Elliott Wave people. There's a guy named Danerick now who's has a free blog, and they're very big on the big biggie. The three wave is going to come crashing down any day now, and so we're very surprised that it hasn't already, actually. And that is going to be the result of the COVID virus, or if one believes in cause and effect. And you would trace it this way. Well, there's the COVID virus. It's killing people off. All the governors of all the states in the United States decided to shut their economies down to make people stay at home. The economy is going into a tailspin. Half the businesses that are closed down now, even if the virus went away today, probably half the businesses that closed, well, they were the weaker businesses anyway, and they will probably never come back. So, that will result in a market crash and so on. Now, to look at the optimistic side, if you manage to live through this, there's money to be made, because anytime there's a huge disruption and things are not as they were before, and people that had a corner on this market or the other might be dead, or their business may have been severely impacted, or they may have closed for a few weeks, or they missed their rent payments for 3 or 4 weeks because they've been closed, and now all of a sudden they're out of business. So there's great opportunity for anybody that's clever enough to have figured it out, and clever enough to have held some cash. That leaves me out, so that they can rebuild anew or build something brand new. So, but if you have the cash and you have the ideas, and your timing is right, and you're not dead, then there's great opportunity here in the aftermath of the COVID pandemic. So anyway, 650 years would also indicate that it's the comeback China is making is for real, and basically the East should be beginning a time where they're going to dominate the West. So if you happen to be a Westerner like I am, you've got to figure out what to do about it, and I'll let you know if I think of anything. Now, we have been talking in this series about the comet, the Comet Neowise, which was discovered in March, and we already knew about the pandemic by then. And it made its perihelion, this is the most important point, on July the 2nd, the closest point to the sun, the closest the comet reached the sun. And within about 2 weeks or a week earlier, there was a new moon on zero of Cancer, cardinal point, which would be to say that there was a new moon on the first day of summer. Well, then this perihelion comes in actually at 29 plus change of Gemini. So it's on the kind of the hidden side of zero Cancer. Now, we'll talk about this a little bit about the hidden side of things. There was an astrologer in Chicago, I don't know, 80 or 90 years ago, I suppose, named Dr. Davidson. And he would talk about the hidden side of a house. And I'm going to give you an example, if you can visualize this. My ascendant is 5 of Virgo. Well, he would say your first house is actually the entirety of Virgo. But there's the hidden side of the first house, and which is from 0 to 5, and then there's the manifest or visible side of the house, which goes from 5 of Virgo ascendant to the end of Virgo, to 29 plus of Virgo. So in a sense, this is using whole houses. Like Robert Hand likes to use whole houses. Actually, I don't remember if that's right or not. I know he uses whole houses, but I don't remember if it's exactly the same thing as what we have here. But at any rate, Davidson said anything that's to the 12th house, the 12th house side of the ascendant is the hidden side of the first house. And anything to the first house side from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to 20 to 29 is not the hidden side, but the manifest side. Now, taking this example, we have 0 of Cancer as a prominent point on the chart. It's some astrologers actually put that, they put 0 Aries in, but they could just as easily put 0 of Cancer in a cardinal point. And in this case, we have the comet in 29 of Gemini, which is on just about conjunct the 0 of Cancer point, but it's on the hidden side of it. So it's going to take on some hidden or 12th house type of meanings, whereas the new moon was in 0 plus change of Cancer, that new moon that happened on the first day of summer. And those two are balanced then on exactly 0, 0 Cancer. Then you have on the hidden side, you have 29 at Gemini. the comet. On the plus side, you have the point of the new moon, and they are equidistant from zero Cancer. So there's a midpoint there, and those are called antitia, if anybody cared. But the point is, as we look at the comet, even though there's something sneaky about the comet, there's something 12th house about the comet, something insidious. And one of the insidious things about the plague is that you don't know you have it for, let's say, 15 days. And in that 15 days, you're spreading it around, and you don't know you have it. Now, see, it'd be very easy if I have it, I'll stay home. You could stay home voluntarily, or, the health officials will make you stay home. But if they don't know you've got it, that adds a whole nother complexity to it. So, you see, there's a hidden agenda there. There's a hidden something going on that that's going to be characteristic of our times now and of this plague. What you see is not what you get. And same with the COVID. Then what you see is not what you get. Now in the previous sections, we've discussed the astrology chart of this perihelion. We noticed that from the point of zero Cancer, which is going to have something sneaky involved, there is a 150-degree angle to Saturn, and that throws Saturn in the 8th house as seen from zero Cancer, or as seen from Saturn, that throws the comet into the 6th house. Well, then we said, 6th house, fun, disease, 6th house, people getting sick. 8th house, looking at the other way, that's good, death, obvious, right? Inheritance, and so, I should probably give up this astrology and go back into law, because there are going to be a lot of estates to take down to the courthouse, a lot of division of property and reassignment of titles, and, so on and so forth. So there's going to be an enormous redistribution of wealth, that being the 8th house aspect of this Saturn to Comet perihelion point. And the 6th house, but what I want to more talk about today is the fact that, the one is the 650-year cycle, but the fact that we don't really know what's going on, even though we think we do. And I would imagine, through most of history, we don't really know. We as the human beings don't really know what's going on in our planet. We don't see all the things, but in this case, it's kind of purposely hidden. Who by? Well, by anybody that knows anything, point one. But point two, there's just something hidden about the way things are proceeding. In other words, no human agent involved. It's just not. It's going to be one of those things that is not obvious. And if we're talking about viruses, if we want to talk about the intelligence of viruses, a virus is a life form, or practically a life form, just as we as a species are a life form. Well, species have ways they go about things, and some species are more direct. They just pounce you and eat you, and other species are more indirect. And the viruses, but the whole point is they want this species to thrive, which means that basically they want they want to increase their numbers. They want to increase the biomass of the species. seems, if we look at species warfare, that seems to be what they want, a multiplication of their numbers to where they dominate, and then things are easier, and then they can have more children, and viruses want children too, and as many as possible. And of course, then the virus eventually, like anything else, screws up and defeats itself by getting too greedy. But in this case, what we're talking about, the hidden side of things, is the modus operandi of the virus is sneaky. And in this case, the new virus, the COVID-19, it's not even telling you that it exists for a while. See? And, there's another thing, talking about sneaky, there might be something called COVID-20, which is being spread around, and that might be the real thing. COVID-19 could just be the front man, but with the front man, we're paying all attention because the front man's pretty serious, but it could be actually ushering in something else that we don't even know about. And as we analyzed in, one of the earlier segments, the pets could be the vectors of these diseases too, and so there's COVID-19, but it's being just a kind of the front guy for COVID-20, which is the real killer. Of course, I could be wrong, and we won't know until it happens, will we? But that would fit into the idea that there's something very sneaky going on with this virus, even sneakier than most viruses. And then, if sneaky is the word for the day, well then, sneaky is going to involve the people too. It's going to be involved the government. It's going to be involved in China being sneaky versus the United States. We use that word inscrutable, the Inscrutable Oriental, and that is now politically incorrect. It's very offensive now to the Easterners to be called inscrutable. But the Inscrutable Oriental virus kind of has a ring to it, doesn't it? Which I'm, maybe that's going to be the new signature of the day, the Inscrutable COVID-20 Oriental virus. Wouldn't that be fun? More later. Thank you.